Welcome, Trust Builders. I'm Sue Dyer, and this is Lead with Trust, where we explore how leaders can build their business on a foundation of trust and reap the rewards of becoming the top performer in their market. Leaders that understand how to use and leverage trust are uniquely positioned to disrupt their industry and dominate their market. Distrust of businesses and business leaders is at an all-time high. Trusted businesses must have trusted leaders, and your team, your customers, and your vendors are waiting for you to step up and elevate the level of trust in your business. My hope is that this podcast can help you start your trusted leader journey. Hi, Trust Builders. I'm really excited to share this episode with you today. I was able to interview Natasha Miller, who is the founder of Entire Productions. And she's also in the middle of writing a book that's going to be called Relentless, which we talk about in the episode as well. A little bit about Natasha is that she went from being homeless to being on the Inc. 5000. She's been on the Inc. 5000 for the last 3 years. She has also been in Entrepreneur Magazine's 260 list of the best entrepreneurial companies in America. And she has really grown her business. Even during this pandemic, she has a business that does events, and she was able to grow her business during a time when we were seeing no events happening, and yet her business grew. So here you go with someone who can take what's happening in the world and still make it happen because of her mindset. And she has created such a trusted group of people that work for her that her business, and her own words, is it's self-operating. She spends about 20% of her time running the business. So I hope you'll enjoy this episode. I sure enjoyed talking with her, and look forward to reading her book when it comes out on March 22nd, 2022. Here you go. Let's check in. Well, welcome. I'm so excited for this today. I've just been such an admirer of yours, and I'm excited to hear about your new book. But mostly I want to just learn about your story, because I know that's what your new book is about too. So welcome, Natasha.
Thank you, Sue. Really great to have met you and to be joined with you via someone we have in common that's pretty magnificent.
Yes, she is, isn't she? We're talking about Amber Vilhauer, who is our book launch director for both of our books. And so yes. Natasha Miller is someone who you may have heard of, but she has an extraordinary story, and I don't want to give any of it away. I want to just let her run with it, because that is the basis of her book that's going to be coming out next year. Do you have a launch date yet?
March 22nd.
March 22nd, mark your calendars.
Yes.
Go there to Amazon and pick it up. Here, you're going to get a little preview here today. So listen up, everybody. So tell us a little bit about your story, because to me, it's just extraordinary. And as a fellow musician, it's also extraordinary. Yeah.
Well, like a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs, I grew up in a not ideal situation, and I ended up finding myself with very low inflection points, and ended up actually, as I went through life, with some very high inflection points. So the book chronicles my history. It's a memoir, but it's a business memoir because of my situation. I guess I was forced into entrepreneurship. I was talking to someone today and said, instead of an addiction to drugs or alcohol or, things that are bad for you, I'm addicted to growth and to studying and becoming the greatest person that I can within my ability. And it really is an addiction. And I don't know how different it is actually from the others, but it does have some more positive outcomes than the other. And
that's interesting that, you relate it to as an addiction, because a lot of people do think that entrepreneurs get that fire and they're a little bit, addictive person of their families might say they're a little addicted to it.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
addicted to drive and to excellence and to learning and becoming all the things, my greatest ability. And I'm able to put it aside when I need to rest, and I'm able to put it aside to be with family and friends. But it is always the driving force in my mind, and it's always the energy that I'm going back to. So
And
I'm
what's the
lucky.
drive? What's behind the drive? Because I know I have that drive and
Yeah.
I understand what's behind it. What's behind your drive?
I used to think, and I was really struggling, I used to think that the fire, that the gas that, ignited the fire was my reliving and spiraling through all the negativity of how I grew up. And I thought if I let go of that and um, didn't have that to push against, that I would lose my drive for success, or I'd lose the successes in my life. But it was also very much eating me up inside. And with the help of a therapist, a little bit of a emergency room panic attack situation, which really happened, and adopting a cat, these are the 3 steps to mental health. I was able to restructure and reframe my brain to move around mentally this mountain that I kept, heaving myself over and spiraling down into. And it turns out I don't need that fire to push me through. Like I can do it myself now. And that was a really big moment to overcome.
Yeah, so I just want to, this is a theme that we're seeing in the entrepreneurs that are really successful, in that at some point they became a high trust in themselves. So we have a trust pyramid. So it starts with self, then interpersonal, then with a team, and then with an organization, then interorganizational. So at some point, every entrepreneur that's successful has reached that point in their journey.
Mhm. I do trust myself. And when I got to this point, it coincided with a lot of things, but it enabled me to very much trust my team, to the point where today, as I'm speaking to you, they're self-managed. There's no micromanaging happening one way or the other, but our business is healthier than it ever has been. I'm working on it rather than day to day. I work on it about 20% of my time, honestly. And again, it's never been more healthy. The profit margins have never been as high. And I haven't, I've never been as happy. The team has never been as happy. It's just a win for everyone. There is a key to finding the right people in order to place your trust in, but just the ability to trust is the first barrier that I think you have to get over.
Well, 2 things I want to unpack here. First, I want to unpack the story. What is this negativity that sort of, I guess, led you to where you are? And the second thing I want to unpack is, how do you create a self-sustaining business? So I'm sure
Yeah.
that didn't just happen overnight either.
It did not happen overnight. It happened over 20 years. But so I grew up in the Midwest. I was born in 71, so really coming to age in the late 70s, mid 80s. And if you can recall that, or if you can't recall that, if you to let you know, there was no Oprah, there was no Dr. Phil, there wasn't a lot of help for domestic abuse, physical or mental abuse, therapy. It was just kind of, especially where I lived, it just wasn't as prevalent. So I had a mother who was severely abusive to me. And, she had a mental illness that was not diagnosed. And really, I was, looking for someone to save me. Anyone, a police officer, a neighbor, somebody at school. I wanted somebody to see what was happening to me and save me. And no one came. No one saved me. But as the course of my life went on, I became my own savior. And now, in the last 10 years, wow, I mean, I don't even think about having somebody else swoop in and save me. I now know that I have that power. I may have always had it, but I didn't have access to support to know that for sure.
Yeah. So this, I guess, is the theme for your whole childhood. And then at what point did you actually physically move away? How old were you then?
Yeah, so at the age of 16 on Christmas Day, I was basically dumped slash abandoned at a youth emergency shelter service and never returned home. So they were trying to finagle maybe me going to foster care. Meanwhile, I was concert master, first violin in my string quartet and in the symphony. I was studying with a college professor at Drake University. So I wasn't off gallivanting around and partying. Unfortunately, I never learned how to party and let loose. But anyway, and I decided, no way are you putting me in foster care. I could be 200 miles away from Des Moines in God knows where. I won't be able to study. So somehow I was able to find a book on a bookshelf at this youth emergency shelter. And I read through it and I realized that I was actually an abandoned youth and not a runaway. And that differentiation gave me a sort of emancipation status, even though we didn't have an official emancipation status in Iowa. So at 16, I was fully on my own.
So you were
Which,
able to be on your own.
well, I mean, was I able? No.
Well, yeah,
I
I know my father
developed,
left home at 14. Yeah. So I
yeah,
understand. Yeah.
I developed a way to take care of myself. And I became an adult very quickly and wasn't able to enjoy teenage years, early 20s years as the age that you're supposed to be. I was fully functioning as an adult at 16 with people that were in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s because I was working at a restaurant with that age group of people.
So music has to have played a big part to your abilities to cope.
Oh, so much. So people ask me now if I meditate. I don't. However, I think one of the things that I learned very early on is that when I was stressed, upset, or scared, torn up about boys, all the things, I would sit at the piano and I would play for a half hour to 2 hours, sometimes singing, sometimes not. It didn't matter. And that does put me in a meditative state. So the answer is, do you meditate? Yes, sort of, but not how you do. And it does. I mean, I've poured my heart out into writing songs, to recording them, to performing them on stage. That really is the way I was able to express my pain and anguish. I express some joy too. They're not all sob story songs, but it definitely was a channel for me to go into. And if I didn't have that channel, I don't know what I would have done. Some people do this in writing in a journal, which I also did, or art, or running, or exercise. There are lots of ways into that meditative state. I chose, music, playing the piano, playing the violin, playing the guitar, writing songs.
Yeah. For me, music was, I always define myself as a musician, even though I don't practice,
Yeah.
because I think, especially as a child, and even as an adult, you understand energy in a different way than other people do. You understand when the energy is high, you understand when it's low, you understand when it's dissonance, you understand what harmony is. You just understand these things that most people that aren't musicians don't understand. And so I can see how it would just, you could change the whole state of your body, and you really at the cellular level using your music. And to help you survive it. I think my father did the same thing too. He could play any instrument that he picked up. All I had to do is hear a song and play it. Yeah. Yeah. So what did you do with your music after you left? How did that evolve?
So music really did save my life, I would say. And it could have been the title of my book, but I'm not sure how many people would want to read that book. It seems a little Hallmark special title like. But I was able to get a full ride scholarship to college at University of Kansas. Then I moved to Iowa State. I was the concert master of the symphony there. Then I transferred to Drake University. That really was a good catapult into that formal education. I wouldn't say that for me, going to those colleges really added to my success because I wasn't able to focus that much in school except for music. And I ended up starting to make quite a bit of money performing before I even graduated. So I didn't graduate. But being able to be at higher education um, set me apart from people that were like me that were struggling. Right. And so I always had that entrepreneurial spirit and that engine in my gut. So I began performing with the string quartet. And then I found myself performing for like Jane Smiley's Pulitzer Prize winning reception at Iowa State. And for the inauguration of our governor, I was hiring some of my college professors to play not only with me in my quartet, but in other groups when I was overbooked. So I was always hustling, right? Always hustling, but in classical music. So that's not really what people put together with that word hustle. Then I was able to start singing after I left Drake, because Drake really wanted me to focus on being the violinist and on being in the first violin section. They didn't want me to be distracted. But I moved to San Francisco and I started playing in cafes. And in 2001, I recorded my first CD. And not only did I record it, but I paid for my education in becoming a record producer by really paying attention to all the running of lines and cables and sound checks and mic checks and what mic works for my voice and what mics work for miking a timpani. Or one of my songs, we actually had a bagpiper in, and that's a really loud instrument. So it was a great education. And then I went on to record 7 CDs and play at in jazz clubs in New York and the Monterey Jazz Festival in San Francisco and Yoshi's and lots of really great listening rooms. I was able to perform for Clint Eastwood. He sat 5 feet away from me. And I was told, Clint might come in and listen to like a song or 2, but don't be afraid or don't be bummed out if he leaves. He might not stay. He stayed for the entire time. So that was a great notch in the belt.
That's awesome. So then I'm seeing how this gave you some real know-how and confidence for event planning, because you're beginning to learn, some of the basics of what it might take because you're at a lot of events.
Right. So I was performing for private, social, and corporate events as a musician, singing and playing the violin. And then I was booking other groups instead of turning down the gig. And then in 2001, I created a real business with a business license, paying taxes, and I called it Entire Productions. But really, that name was a misnomer because we weren't event planning at that time. We were just supplying artists of every genre, every discipline, from local to headline talent. But as we grew a client base and as they saw that they could really depend on us, they saw that we were very organized and we were also creative. We had that split brain. We, meaning me at the time, because it was small. They started asking us to plan events. And so we did plan a few events, but then we got into this position where we were getting so much business from event planners that I was afraid if we continued to accept event planning requests, that we'd start to kind of upset them and alienate them. And maybe they would stop calling us because we were potentially taking their events. In about 2015, we kind of flipped the switch over because we needed to diversify. And we started doing both. So full event planning, in which a lot of our artists and musicians and experiences and interactive activities would happen. Or maybe not at all. Maybe we'd be planning the whole event and they didn't have entertainment, but for the most part, they would. Or we would supply entertainment to somebody else's event and only do that portion. And today we do both of those things. And because of the pandemic, we do them both in person, traditional style, and virtual, the new style.
Yeah, that must have been quite during the pandemic. That's like a whole nother story I want to hear about. But I want to make sure we talk about your business too and how you've grown it, because I know you've been on the Inc. 5000 for 3 years.
3 years in a row.
Fastest growing. So she is doing something right, listeners. Let's listen up so we can learn too.
hitting those revenue marks to be on that list is really important for scaling and growing your company. So I was doing a lot right. But the question I am never asked by anyone in general, because it's not polite to ask, is okay, great, you have this revenue, but what's your profit? And I think that's a missing point that businesses and entrepreneurs need to really focus on. So we have been profitable each year, but how profitable, right? You can be $1 profitable and still call yourself a profitable business, right?
I suppose
Yeah,
you're
no, I
not going
know
to
it's
exactly build your wealth, but yeah.
no, but it is a true statement, right? If you have $1 profit at the end, EBITDA, you are a profitable business. So I'm really focusing now on profit versus revenue. And our profit margin is a lot higher in our company. We don't have sales goals or goals for the company that refer to a revenue number anymore. None. We never speak of it. That has made a huge difference in our business.
I hope you're enjoying the show. Sorry to interrupt, but if you're looking to improve any area of your life, one of the first things you'll want to do is to figure out where you are today and where the gaps are, and then really get clear on where you want to go. Visionary leaders need clarity like human beings need oxygen. It's essential. That's why my team and I put together a great starting point for you on your trusted leader journey. It's called the Trusted Leader Profile, and it will allow you to take charge of the atmosphere in your business by helping you understand your trusted leader style and how you can elevate the level of trust in your business. With understanding, you can make better choices and grow the level of trust and your results. For being a listener to the show, it's 100% complimentary for you to access the profile. All you have to do is go to www.sudyco.com/profile. And Sudyco is SUDYCO. Again, that's www.sudyco.com/profile. I really believe that the profile will help you understand the norms you bring to your business and unlock the next level of leadership for you.
What you focus on is what you get, right?
I guess.
I know for me, it's probably been, 25 years ago or something. I remember asking my husband to calculate for me, because he's an engineer, calculate for me, how much money do we have to have outside of retirement for me to never have to work another day in my life? And so he gave me that number, and we probably hit it about 20 years ago. And it didn't stop me from working, but I knew I had built enough wealth
Yes,
that
the safety
I
net
didn't
in
have to work
place.
anymore. Yeah. And then of course that we just continued to build wealth too. But so many business entrepreneurs don't focus on using their business to build wealth. I'm always surprised by that.
I didn't for the first 10 years. I didn't care about it. I didn't know about it. It was a lifestyle business. As long as I was making what I needed to make a living, that's all I cared about. It really wasn't until 2013 or 14, so 13 to 14 years into the business, that I looked at or considered or allowed my business to scale and grow. But you have to remember, my focus really was in performing. That's where my focus was going. And what fills me up is those kind of wins, the writing and the recording and the performing. And in business, what fills me up is having the business, doing the cool events, being able to hire not only artists, but full-time employees. So that is actually part of my compensation. So it was hard to switch that mindset in my mind to create a profit margin for my business that was above and beyond and outside of that.
And I can completely understand that, because it's really evolutionary at many steps of evolution to get there. It's completely understandable, because where you started from. Yeah. And also your talent. Yeah. When people are highly talented at something, I think it's harder for them to sometimes see the big picture, because it's your talent is so much of who you are.
Right.
that you can't see it. I call it the entrepreneurial paradox. The
Yeah.
more we are who our businesses are, the less we can actually see it.
It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I find joy in a lot of things and I'm satisfied, even if I'm not making a ton of money. It's a curse because I can't think, I have to prod myself to think bigger and outside of myself. And I do that upon occasion. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Most authors that create a book that they want to sell, and it's not just a business card for them, which is fine, sell, I think, no more than 250 books in the lifetime of their book sales. My first goal is $25,000 or 25,000 copies sold. My real goal is I want 25,000 people to read the book. So really when I'm saying that, I know the reality is really a person's going to read the book if they buy it more than if I just handed it to them for free, right? So that will fill me up if people read it. Of course, I need them to buy it too, but my greater desire is that. That's a huge number, by the way, 25,000 books for someone like me with my platform. That is a goal. That's a reach goal it'll be challenging to get there. However, I have a bigger goal and I want to practice saying it, because if I don't say it, I'm never going to get anywhere near it. And that's 500,000 books
Sold
sold
or read.
I would love for them all to be read, but let's be honest. Well, read or listened to, because
Yes,
Audible.
yeah, because I like my books on Audible. Yes,
And my Audible will include music from my CDs. It'll be
that's awesome.
the songbook of my life. So anyway, those two numbers, both of those numbers are way outside of my comfort zone of what probably the reality is. And before, I would have never, ever thought those numbers or said them out loud.
Well, here you are. We're telling everyone. So jump on board, everyone. You got to get a book. It's going to be in lots of formats. So
the reason I want people to read it, honestly, and this will completely pair with what I just said, I want to make an impact on every single person that has read the book's life. I don't need to have them transform their entire lives. That is not what this book is about. But if you, Sue, read the book and you find a thing, you may not even realize it, but if I have impacted you to make a tiny tweak to get happier, find more joy, find more business, find more whatever, that is what I want. I don't need to hear about it. You don't need to report back. Of course, it feels good when you do. But that over the monetary, the financial outcome, that is the most important thing to me. I'm also, I'm 50 years old. So impacting and leaving a legacy is more important to me than it would have been when I was 30 or younger.
Yeah. I also think that when you're doing things that come from your core, you don't need to worry about the money. You do it and the money follows. I've just found that over and over and over and over in my career, that you don't need to worry about it. It will just, it just connects with people and it will just follow. And books are one of those things. I know when I wrote my first book, I pre-sold 10,000 copies because I was asked to write the book. So that was easy. Now with this one, which I have to show you, just came this week. I actually have a copy. Look.
Oh, it's great.
So when I wrote this book now, which is actually my fourth book, but the other ones I wrote for construction, now this is my life's work. So
yes,
trying to help leaders think and act like a trusted leader. Also, we have a journal that goes with it. So
I love it.
Those came this week.
Congratulations.
Exciting. So I want to leave the listeners with some of your insights on how you created a self-running business, because I think you can't scale if you don't get there.
Yeah.
So what are the things, what are the lessons you've learned and the advice you would give?
You must put down in writing and also preferably video the way every department, every role does their job. not only for them to refer back to, but to train on, and also very importantly, so everyone's on the same page, doing it the same way. And system and processes. This is the reason why we were able to scale and grow, period, end of story. And to give you an idea about that, we were able, because of the system I built within Salesforce, it's definitely proprietary to our company and our industry, we were able to produce 777 events with 2 people in operations.
Wow.
Today,
Wait a minute. Let's just
Yeah.
let that sink in a minute. That is, how many people have a hard time getting their Christmas party put together or Thanksgiving dinner?
So we've automated in my voice, in our company and our brand's voice, anything that's repeatable and lower touch. Anytime our client makes a change, they're basically making it in our system. So no one has to go in and retype what Sue, like if you've changed your event from December 24th to the 26th, that's great. You will have done it in our system. So a lot of that back and forth, chasing information, that's one of the things. But thinking big picture, like today, I could not work. I could say to my team, oh my gosh, I have an emergency. I don't know how long I'll be gone, 6 months, a year. My business would continue running without me. And honestly, I hate to say this, it may actually grow bigger without me, because my team thinks bigger. I've given the permission, but also they're not me. They think bigger than I do. So they get more out of our clients and negotiate more with our vendors than I do. So I'm like, well, here's what I would do, but don't listen to me. You do you. So I think the systems and processes, the writing down everything so that, your employees can train or retrain themselves is really important. That culture that you create in your core values is really the heartbeat and the center of any of this stuff, satellite stuff that I talk about working. So if you've got problem people that you're just letting ride because you don't want to deal with it, and, or maybe you have a bigger company, you don't even know there's some problem people, and you don't have that management layer that is really working toward those core values and goals, things are going to start falling apart. So having those in place, it's hard to do that first. And it's also hard to do in the middle of everything, but you have to do it. And you have to not even talk about your your goals and your culture and your core values. Instead of talking about them and reminding, okay, people, remember our core values are excellence, collaboration. You have to live it, right? You have to live it. And then you can point to, okay, when somebody asks a question in Slack and everyone responds, that is collaboration, right? So those are my secrets.
So I have several questions on this, because I know a lot of people, particularly some of the people that are listening, and they've grown to a certain level, and maybe they're just about to the point where they're going to put a management team in, or they should put a management team in. Tell us about that journey, because I think a lot of people really stumble there.
Yes. So I think people stumble because they're like, can I afford it? Or can I let go? Can their ego let go? Or will their team respond positively? And so the answers to those questions are ego. If you don't let go, you're not going to scale and grow, and you're not going to be creating a business that is as valuable as it could ever be. Number one, you got to take yourself out of the center. If you're not ready to do that, check back in, because that is the holy grail, is when you're able to remove yourself from the center. Okay. And then 2, can you afford it? You might not be able to not afford it, right? You might have to dig into some reserves. You may have to put a little bit of debt, on your balance sheet, but that is enabling you to grow into your fullest potential rather than stay stagnant and just do things as they used to be. And then about people,
I just want to stop here and just think about what you just said compared to where you came from.
Yeah.
That is monumental. That is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I would never have done that. I would never have spent money I didn't have in order to grow. But now it's an absolute like no brainer. Right now, a lot of companies that their businesses suffered during the pandemic have access to the PPP and the EIDL loans and such. And if you use that very inexpensive money wisely, like 3.75%, like amazing. 1%, amazing. If you are really strategic about how you use it and you plan it out, you can add people to grow your business back into what it used to be or what it should be. And that third thing that I mentioned, of course, there are many more things to say, but if you're worried that your people, your team won't react positively, you may have to be looking at, are these the right people with the right talents and the ability for our company to move further, right? They might have been the right ones for the time up to now. And making that decision is very uncomfortable, but you have to take your emotions out of it. And a lot of people say, it's going to be better for them. It's better for the company. It's better for everyone. But that's hard to get around, right? So move that person into another position if that is something that's accessible. If that person is not the right person, the right butt and the right seats with the capacity, they have to be moved to a place where they fit all three things, or maybe they're not a fit for your organization anymore.
And I hear that over and over and over as a common theme, in that in order to grow, you can't grow with the same people that brought you where you are. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a big challenge. So, congratulations in managing that and creating such a high trust organization based on trust. How many employees do you have now?
I went from 14 to, I think we're at 6 right now. So it's a very small team, and we're doing a lot of revenue, which we don't talk about, and we're profitable more than we ever have been. We are poised to double or triple in late 22 into 23 if we don't roll back in pandemic situations. So because we'll be able to do full production in-person events and the virtual, and we've added a couple of other divisions.
So you actually, in the pandemic, which is another thing I want to talk about, and how you pivoted, because you obviously pivoted well, is that how did you do that? And it sounded like it added a whole nother revenue stream for you, new options. It will be a whole nother revenue stream for you.
I was really into technical. I'm a very tech savvy person, and I'm driven and intrigued by it. Not everyone is. A lot of people in my industry were like, we're hitting pause until live events come back. We're not going there. We went there, and we created a faster paced, shorter segment entertainment wrapped around messaging and keynotes that enabled our clients to really have successful virtual events where people don't want to not be on. So our goal is to keep people interested and intrigued instead of, oh my God, when is this going to be over?
So it sounds like your virtual events is going to, I don't see it going away. I see it expanding in with its own use.
It's
I know we've
expanded
been
so many people's businesses.
I know we switched to virtual events instead of face-to-face events, and we do about 320 events a year face-to-face, and now they are virtual. And what I would say is that what we've learned is that they're different. There's benefits to it, and there's things that are better being face-to-face. So you kind of need to choose which type of event you want. Yeah. So as you've grown this business, what about your performing, or how much performing are you doing?
I did a holiday concert last December virtually that will roll out for this year, replay. And I'll do some performing when I present my book launch. So instead of doing book readings, I'm doing book launch performances. So a bit of performance will be sprinkled in, which I'm looking forward to.
That sounds so fun. And a book, what made you decide to write this into a book?
I'd always thought that I would do it, but I went to a conference a couple of years ago where the aha moment was, it's time, it's now. And I was being mentored by another author, and I was like, oh my God, I think it's time. So there was a 2-year slog. Memoirs are tough.
Books are tough.
Books are tough. Memoirs, I don't know. I haven't written another kind of nonfiction book. I will, but I have a feeling it'll be slightly easier than the memoir.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to read it and listen to it, because I want to make sure I hear the music part too. That will touch my soul. So what advice can you give entrepreneurs who, may have started with challenges and they want to grow their business?
Yes, I think the same advice I would give to any entrepreneur is to find mentorship, find an advisor, dive deep into the work of learning what you need to learn. That's the shortcut. That is the shortcut. That's the only real growth hack, is to learn the tried and true way. You can improvise a little bit throughout, but if you don't know the tried and true way, you're just spinning wheels and making spaghetti.
Yeah. Well, to me, the theme here is, again, your trust in yourself and your ability to trust in interpersonal relationships and grow a team. And for every event, it's another team. It's kind of a team of teams. So I think that, again, that's the theme. And because I don't think all the people in your industry who did not see the virtual platform as the next thing for them, but rather waited, is exactly, I don't think that they had your mindset. They didn't have the ability to know, we will overcome, we will figure it out, we will.
Yes. And unfortunately, a lot of those people laid off people, or their employees are working part-time, or they've closed up shop.
Yeah.
Because this is not going away. This is going to be around for a while, if not for the rest of our lifetime. And you have to adapt.
Yes. So I just want everyone to understand the perspective of, here's a business that is growing and growing during a pandemic when there are no events technically in face-to-face. And so that is a remarkable thing that we all can learn from. And I'm so excited to just read your book and learn more, and hopefully stay in touch.
Oh, we will stay in touch. Absolutely. You can't get rid of me.
Oh, good. You can't get rid of me either.
I can't wait to get your book and your journal. So thank you for letting me know. When is it launching?
It's launching February 1st.
Yep. I'll be there.
Me too. I'll be there March 23rd.
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. We'll do it again. Closer to your book launch. Maybe we'll do it again. Thank you so much, Natasha.
Thanks.
Take care.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Lead with Trust, and that wherever you're listening to this podcast, you will subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode, send it to someone who you think can really use this message that you got today. And also, please leave us a review. Your honest review wherever you listen to your podcasts would be much appreciated. And of course, the more reviews we get, the better they are, the better for the podcast. I'm truly on a mission to get more and more people to understand that trust is the essential element. So I hope you'll be part of that. This show really exists to help you, leaders, to build your business on a foundation of trust so that you can reap the rewards of becoming that top performer in your market. I see over and over where no one can possibly reach the levels of those people that understand how to build a high trust culture in their business. Now, today, if you're really curious about starting your trusted leader journey, you can get started right away if you just take the free Trusted Leader Profile, and you can learn where you fall along the Trusted Leader continuum. And this really can unlock your confidence on where you are and what you need to do. It's very specific on what you can do. Gives you a snapshot of your leadership style. So if you want to take that, just go to www.sudyco, SUDYCO.com, and then /profile, and you will get immediate access to the Trusted Leader Profile. Once again, that is www.sudyco, SUDYCO.com /profile. All right, that's a wrap. I just can't wait to hang out with you again on our next episode.